Hi, I'm Jennifer of Celtic Knot Crochet, and today in this video I'm going to show you how to weave the 2 Celtic knots at the center of the Celtic Trinity Snowflake. Thank you for purchasing this pattern. I hope this video will help you weave the knots here in the center. They're very simple knots, but because the cords are thin and narrow, you're going to need a little extra finesse to weave them together, but they're really not difficult. According to the directions, you'll create 2 cords. This one here you see with white thread and then a silver thread edging. That's for the large knot. And then you'll create a cord using only the silver thread for the smaller knot in the center. In order to weave this project, you'll need to print out the knot diagram that's included in the instructions. You'll want to pin it to some cork board. You can see here I have about 1/4 inch cork board on top of a square of styrofoam. Just helps the pins not to puncture my work surface. And I'm going to use, I don't know, 10 to 15 pins, straight sewing pins, to help me hold everything in place. On the diagram, you'll see that there are 2 asterisks, a black one and a red one. We're going to start at the black asterisk first, and we're going to start with the end of the cord. That's the beginning. This is where we started after chaining. Then we worked back into the chain, and this is where we started. So I'm going to place this point right here to line up with point A. And this end will line up right with that black asterisk. And I'll pin that in place. And now I'm going to continue to follow the red path and follow those arrows till I end up all the way back to where I start. You can see here on this diagram that there is a measurement guide here. So if you print this out and then measure it, and it is 1 inch or 2.54 centimeters, this line, then you've printed yours out at the correct size. It's just a nice little check for you to make sure that your project is the same size as mine. And I follow along. If I need to remove a pin and then replace it, and I look at the diagram below to see whether I go over or under. So as I get to here, I can see that it's time for me to pass under this cord right here. And I like to pin those in place. See how that looks where I'm following the red path. And now I'm at point C, so I'll pin that. This last area here, I peek at the diagram and I can see the arrow, and I'm going to pass over this part of the cord, and then I'm going to end under right where I began. And those 2 ends will be hidden underneath this part of the cord, and you won't even see the join. So that's how to weave the first Trinity knot, the larger one. I recommend for this pattern that you use an embroidery needle to weave in these ends so they're not in your way, making it confusing when you try to weave the smaller knot. So I'm going to do that right now. When I'm ready to remove the knot from the diagram, I like to pin some of the crossings just like that to help hold the knot in place so that when I remove it, I don't lose all of that weaving that I just did. And I'm going to turn it over and use these yarn tails right here to sew these two parts together. Very simply, just go through the other side of the cord and then back through the first side and then back through the second side. It's called a whip stitch. And that joins the cords together. And then they'll be hidden under the crossing, like so. So I'll continue to weave these ends in and cut the excess off, so all I have is my larger knot. With the first Celtic knot completed, I've attached the ends and they're hiding under here, and I've woven in all the yarn tails so that I have a clean slate for adding the inner Celtic knot. Now for the demonstration, I've decided to make this inner Celtic Trinity knot in a nice bright blue, so it's easier for you to see on the video. But in the actual project, this inner piece is the silver metallic embroidery floss. You might choose to do green or some other color, but for this I crocheted according to the instructions in a nice bright blue. And you can see, since it's cotton yarn, it curls up. So I am going to steam block that, give it a few blasts with my iron and flatten it out and let it dry, and I'll come back and you'll see it's nice and flat and much easier to weave. Here you can see the cord now after I steam blocked it. Much flatter, and it will be easier to weave. Let's take a look here at the diagram. We're going to be following the blue path, and we're going to start here where there is a red asterisk. You can see that right there. And we're going to place the beginning of the cord right there, and we're going to work to point D, then curl around here to E, then curl over here to F, and then back to the beginning. So it's the same knot as this larger white one, but we're going to do more over and under passes because now we're inside the large white one. This is the beginning of the cord with the shorter end and no yarn tails. And if I peek here at the diagram, I see that I have to go over the red, which is what we went over before. So I'll pin the first point at D. That helps give me a spot to place the cord, and the end will come up and over and end right here where that red asterisk is. Next, I'm going to peek at the diagram. I'm following the blue path, and I see that the blue path goes under the red, and then I'm going to pass through this way, and then when I get to the red path again, I can peek under the diagram, and I'm going to go over this section. So I need to go under and then over before I get to point E. Now, one way to help you weave these tiny cords is to take these yarn tails and thread them through a yarn needle. And this will help you to go in these tight spaces. So we're going to go under this one first. And you see it twisted there, but we just want to make sure we untwist the cord. And we work our way over here to point E. And I will place a pin there at point E, and that helps hold what we've woven so far in place. I'm keeping the yarn tails on my yarn needle, and I want to peek at the diagram underneath. So we're going to be heading this way to point F, but I need to figure out what am I doing when I come up across all of these 4 cords right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go, I peek underneath, and I can see right here that the blue passes under the red. So I'm going to go under, then over. I peek here, and I'm going to go under the blue and then over the red. With my yarn needle, I'm going to go under, then I'm going over right here where I started, then I'm going under again, and then over this last cord in this little section. And pull through. Again, it's twisted, so I can use the end of a pin to help me untwist, like so. And I just want to follow along. The key right here is, it's a little tricky because it's right where I began. So I have that pin kind of blocking the way. So I'm going to remove that pin and place it back down. So now it holds the cord that we just went over with, and it holds the end, the beginning end of the cord in place. So it's directly underneath right there. And I'm coming up on the last point. For point F. So there's the point in the cord. And I'm going to put a pin right in there. And I can adjust some things. Make sure things are even. Make sure my cord bends a little bit better here. So I'm almost finished with this part. Now I have one more place to look. Under the diagram, I'm going to be heading right to here, back to where we started. So I peek under, I'm going to be going under the red, then over the blue, and then I'm going to end under. We always end where the ends are going to be hidden underneath. I have the yarn needle with the yarn tails again. I can turn this a little so it reaches better for my hand. So I'm going under this white one, over the blue. Pull it through like so. Pull all the yarn tails through. And now I meet up right there with that beginning cord. Now I removed that pin that was there, so I can go under right where I began, under that last section to get the yarn tails under there. And that will help me sew it together once I remove it from the board. So here you can see, a little bit easier to see than the silver, how to weave that inner Celtic knot. And then when you're ready to start working around the knot, you're going to want to work behind this slip stitch edging. See that slip stitch edging along here that we did on the larger cord? we're going to work behind that, and in the directions you'll see a nice close-up photo of what that looks like. So thank you again for watching this video. I hope this little instruction helped you weave the knots for the Celtic Trinity Snowflake. And make sure to click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to watch the next Celtic Knot Crochet video.